Hi, I'm Roxy. I'm an illustrator and designer. One of my viewers recently asked me about subsurface scattering, so that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to show you how it works and how to paint better skin tone and juice up your translucent materials using subsurface scattering. The first thing to understand is the difference between transparency and translucency. A window is transparent. You can see right through it, you can shine a light through it. If this is a cross section of a window and this is our light source, the light rays will penetrate that window without any resistance. It'll go right through. A brick wall, on the other hand, is completely opaque. It's not transparent. If this is a cross section of a brick wall and this is our light source, that light ray will hit the wall and bounce off. Nothing gets through on this side. But now between transparency and opacity, we get a whole spectrum of materials that are translucent. They're neither transparent nor opaque, just somewhere in between, like frosted glass and stained glass, jelly and goo, sodas and murky water, thin papers and fabric, juicy fruits, wax, skin and hair. If we take this curtain, for example, this is opaque enough that you can't see through it, but it's not completely opaque. You can still observe light through it. If this is a cross section through a curtain and this is our light source, the light ray will hit it and it will kind of go through. So although the light rays get through, they're much weaker. So as long as something isn't completely transparent, but light can pass through it, it's considered translucent. Now, often with translucent materials, we get to witness a phenomenon called subsurface scattering, where some of the light rays pass through the material and some of the light rays bounce around inside the material and they cause a glow. Now, one of the easiest ways to see this is with skin. Actually, if I shine a light behind my ear, you'll see it gets a red glow, the thinnest, most translucent parts of my ear. And what's happening is that the light is entering the skin, bouncing around the flesh and making the blood glow. Here's another example. If I shine the torch through my hand, up here where my hand is thickest and the bones are densest, you don't see much. But when I move the torch to my fingers, which are thinner and therefore more translucent, we get that red glow again because of subsurface scattering. The light is scattering beneath the surface of the skin. That's what subsurface scattering means. And we know it's scattering because if it wasn't, we'd be able to see finger bones blocking the light, like an X-ray. But the light scatters and bounces around the finger bones, causing a general area glow. With a torch, we make subsurface scattering very obvious, but in reality, we're usually dealing with sunlight. And it's winter here in South Africa, so the sun is quite weak. But if I place my hand on my very dirty office window, which I haven't cleaned in months because, quite frankly, I have better things to do with my time, you'll notice a slight bit of rosiness on the edges of my fingers, where we're getting some subsurface scattering, but just in a much more subtle way. So you've seen it in action now, but how do you apply this knowledge in art? Let me begin by showing you a masterful example of subsurface scattering in this piece by Dave Greco. We see the scene is backlit. We can tell that because of the yellow rim light. And as you saw with the torch, backlighting is the scenario where we really get that juiced up subsurface scattering. If we zoom into the character's face, we can see that soft glow coming in the thinnest parts of his ear. And incidentally, we also have some red fringing along the brightest highlights, which in this case could be attributed to subsurface scattering as well. But in life, we also get this color fringe appearing for other reasons as well, like chromatic aberration or colored penumbra. It really depends on the situation. If you're interested in that type of thing, I have a 24-part lesson series on light and color effects on my Discord in a secret section unlocked by becoming a patron for $5 a month. I do a weekly lesson, so there's currently 142 and I also provide custom brushes. But self-promotion aside, let me show you a super easy way to apply subsurface scattering to your portraits. So these are two painterly style portraits that I sketched especially for this video. And there's without subsurface scattering and there's with subsurface scattering. And all I did, let me just make this layer normal. You can see that all it is, and I'll hide that as well. I just took red and brushed it lightly over the areas that I wanted the subsurface scattering, and I changed the layer mode to color dodge. I could also have used lighten or screen. I've even had situations where multiply looked good. It really depends on the lighting of the scene and colors that you're working with. So it's a good idea to go through these layer blend modes and just use your discretion on what looks best. And also remember that if it looks a little too strong, you can always just lower the opacity. So here's another example on this mermaid piece that I painted last month. In this case, let's just check which layer is it. Done a pretty shit job of labeling my layers, as you can see. Okay, I used color dodge as well. I thought I used, wait, maybe it was the hair. Yeah, okay, so on the hair I used add. If I take that off, you can see what it looks like. And add just juices it up nicely. You know, I don't even know if a fish would have a translucent part of their body, but I figure this is the thinnest part, so if there was any kind of translucency because of the light, it would be there, and it looks good, so I guess that's all that matters. Now, you don't have to use layer styles, of course. You can just paint it red from the start. That's what I did with this portrait commission. A very bright backlit scene, as indicated by the white rim light, and some juicy subsurface scattering in the ears. Also worth mentioning that if you're painting zombies and vampires, you probably don't want to give them subsurface scattering, because that would imply the healthy blush of blood under the skin, like Bobby here. For example, this is a caricature painting I did of Dracula, where I almost went and added subsurface scattering to his ears on autopilot. And then I remembered, oh wait, he's dead. He's supposed to look cold and unhealthy. So I went in the opposite direction and gave him a blue tinge in the ears instead. But you know what? I think we've seen enough of ears. You saw from the videos earlier that hands are also good opportunities for subsurface scattering. And if you've seen my nightshade video, you probably recognize these hands from that video. So on this one, let's see, I didn't have any separate layer for the subsurface scattering. I literally just painted it in. You can see that little rosiness coming in here and there. So if I just add another layer, let's get a nice soft brush. Let's say I wanted to juice this up a little bit more. And then we'd hit, let's see, lighten, screen, color dodge, add. Lighten probably looks best. I mean, this is probably too much. I mean, you really don't have to go this obvious, but just showing you how easy it is that if you don't want to paint it into the painting, you can always add it later with a separate layer. So we've seen skin, hair, and a mermaid's tail, but fruit is another good place for subsurface scattering. This is oil painter Elena Katuri, and she uses subsurface scattering a lot. I've always loved her glowing fruit, so I thought what might be fun to try is set up a real scene like this and do a painting. So I grabbed a mandarin from the fridge, got my torch and my cell phone camera, and set up the scene, took a photo, and then I fired up Rebel Pro and started painting. And if I do say so myself, I think it turned out quite well. But painting is always easy when you have good reference. So why not give it a try yourself? Grab some grapes or a soda or something and light it up with a torch and do a painting. Share it on social media and at me so I can make sure you've been paying attention. And of course I'll give it a like. But that's all I have to say on subsurface scattering. So as always, thank you to my patrons and thank you for watching. Much obliged if you leave a like and subscribe. Until the next one, God bless.